Welcome to this week's episode of Being Human. I'm here with Roberto Martinez. He is the co-founder of a radical software firm called Nearsoft, which became somewhat famous for its policies and principles and how it organizes staff. That company has since been acquired by a company called Ancora, of which Roberto is the president for Mexico. So Roberto, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I'm really looking forward to this podcast, and it sounds like it's going to be a kind of story of creating one culture and then an acquisition happening, and that culture now being exposed to a new culture, and the journey of all of that, which I'm looking forward to getting into. But before we lay all of that out, I think it'd be great for our listeners if we could just get a sense of who you are and sort of wind it all the way back to what was happening for you and a bit of your background when you first started Nearsoft. So could we start there?
Sure. So I'm Roberto. I'm from Mexico. And I am an engineer as a per education, but not anymore because of practice. I have a couple of kids, my wife, and live in California now, but travel often to Mexico to visit our family. I like to do different sports and continue to exercise myself to keep in shape, basically. Right. But that's me.
What sports?
I do running. I do boxing.
Boxing.
Swim not much lately. Tennis sometimes, and whatever is there. Somebody invites me to play soccer, I go and play soccer. If somebody invites to play volleyball, I go and play volleyball or baseball. I love baseball as well.
Right. Is that popular? Obviously, we know it's popular in the US. Is that popular in Mexico?
What?
Baseball.
Well, in the north part of Mexico, it is. And I'm from the north,
Okay.
Northwest. So, yeah, it is more popular than soccer. Although soccer is now taking, over.
Right.
Yeah. But there are many people still playing here.
Right. And so if we go back to the early days of Nearsoft, you're a trained engineer and you want to start a company, and give us a bit of a sense of the founding of that company and what made it different.
Yeah, well, I started my first company when I was in college.
Yeah.
And that failed. Then I started another company. Once I get into this entrepreneurship thing by accident, I honestly didn't plan to be an entrepreneur. I couldn't go back to get a job and things or anything like that. There is nothing wrong with that, but it was just my stubbornness that keep me. I need to make something out of this, right? Not fail. And I continue trying, and in 2005, I applied to there was back then a program called Tech BA, which was Technology Business Accelerator, which was created between Mexico and US to help tech companies, penetrate into the US market. Back then in 2005, Mexico wasn't a player in the tech scene like it is today, right? And so I applied to that call, and our company was selected. It was a small company, but because we were in the Northwest, we were already working with some projects and things like that. I was an engineer back then, both an engineer and a business guy, moving from one hat to another. And in 2006, I decided to move to Silicon Valley, and I met Matt Perez in 2006. And after you know working for probably 6 months, I decided to invite him to, hey, we should work together, but work together, not like he was a consultant and I had my company, and I invited him to the company. He had the name Nearsoft, so the name Nearsoft was his own creation. I had another company called CQ, and I liked the name, because we were doing Nearshore, and I told him, hey, we should keep Nearsoft, not CQ. And so we decided that it was okay for both of us to work together. And we started working together in 2006. We officially announced that we were going to found Nearsoft in 2007, although Nearsoft was founded before that. I mean,
Right.
with
Yeah.
the company, right? But jointly, we announced that we were Nearsoft in February 2007, February 15, 2007. So that's the quote unquote official launch for new company Nearsoft in 2007.
And this was a company that provided software teams to work on custom projects for clients, to build software for clients.
Back then we were, trying a couple of things like, working with, it was only maybe for, probably between 2006 and 2007, we were trying to do projects and work with IT teams and, whatever, but we settled in the software product company market, what is called right now OPD, in 2007. And from there, we grew like crazy. We were a small company, right? But and growing like crazy wasn't, that difficult. Well, that difficult back then, but we grew from 2007 until 2009, in January, like 700%.
Oh, wow. And I didn't catch that. So OPD, what's that?
Outsourcing Pro Development, which
Outsourcing
is
Product Development. That's what you were doing. Right?
that is the acronym that is used for the software company dedicated to software product development rather than IT shop, right?
Yeah.
And in 2007, the crisis came in, and nobody wants to talk about 2009, sorry. And we did very good decisions that maintain us on market, and we by September that year we were already growing again. And ironically, that year was like I will say, one of the best years of the company, because it made us make some very good decisions that keep us growing year over year since 2010 until today. So we never kept growing from that year until now.
Wow. Yeah.
And
that's a great run.
yeah, it is, crisis make companies crisis. Yeah, that is that cliche quote, right? But it is true. I mean, you are in a crisis, you have to make hard decisions, but good decisions for the company. And it keeps, paying back after years because you know what's going on. And, now for the crisis that's coming, we know what to do, right?
Right.
Rather than those new companies doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yes, it will be their first.
Right. Yeah.
For ours, it will be the third one. So,
yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So tell us. So I'd love to hear like what made Nearsoft different? What were your inspirations? Tell us a bit about what was, well, I framed it as radical, and for many it would seem radical. What were those big differences in the way that you ran Nearsoft, and which of those helped you through that first crisis?
Oh, I think when Nearsoft, we had a lot of things that, it was in a way magical. I can tell you that because, of course, we had, very good times, very difficult times, but at the end, I will say it was magical. Imagine, we were a company, right? But a company is formed with people, right? And although everyone was an employee, we were family. We were treated like, we know each other for so many years, and we support each other, and we challenge each other, and things like that. We never put business before people, um, meaning that we lose money because we put people before business, and that is something that, you know if I don't know, the vibe that you feel when you enter to the building, it was just unique. And people told me, "Hey, what's going on here?" And we were, you know and we had a lot of fun every day. And don't get me wrong, we worked really hard, um and made very good relationship with clients, made very good products and things, but we had a lot of fun every day. um oh, sorry, that's my dog.
Yeah,
So
that's okay.
yeah.
Dog as
and
well.
and and a another thing that we had was that, so I'm trying to remind, all right, everything that, what's going on. That's why I'm doing this. But um so we had, like, for example, once a month I cook for everyone, like, breakfast, like omelets and pancakes and paella, and whatever. Once a month I bring all the people. Sometimes we were 40 people, and we were growing 80 people, 100 people, 150 people, 200 people. And the other thing is that many outsiders, keep telling us, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, you can do this because you are this small, but wait until you get to put any number there, 100, 150, whatever." And we continue being the same and the same and the same, and like, now nobody tells us because we are, you know more than 700, and we keep doing well. I don't cook for 700 right now because now we are, because of all the pandemic, we're working from home, spread it all over. But and of course there are things because of the pandemic that we're not doing right now, but there are many things that we used to do before that we continue doing, and we're 700 people. So
Yeah.
and it is a place where people trust each other, and we support each other. Once so for example, once I remember, uh one of our colleagues, his car was stolen, and um so he couldn't afford to buy another car, right? And the rest of the team, created, let's say, like a GoFundMe kind of things. But it wasn't GoFundMe, it was, in person, right? And start donating money so he can at least complement to buy a car.
Mm.
We couldn't get enough money to buy a car, but at least he was able to go and buy a car. He wanted didn't want to accept it, but even if he accepted or not, I don't remember honestly. But the action of the people getting together to do that is what speaks out loud about the what I'm telling you, about that support each other thing and all the stuff. If somebody got sick or lose a family member or anything like that, we were there all the time. So those kind of things, it was magical.
Yeah,
So
it sounds great. And I've got a question about a bit more about what you and Matt did in terms of your leadership, but just your I'm hearing a ping, I think, from occasionally maybe your email or something. It's coming through. Is there
yeah,
something?
well, I don't know how to turn that off.
Oh, okay. Well, we can live with it. It's all right. Just if there's a way to.
Yeah, maybe if I close. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, there you go.
Cool. Yeah. So this family feel, it sounds fantastic. There was the cooking, clearly that contributed. But what were you and Matt doing in terms of your leadership? Like, who were you being as leaders? Were there specific policies you were putting in place that contributed to this magical culture?
I will say that as the business owners and the leaders, we try to be transparent. We accessible to everyone. I didn't have an office, for example. I sit down in the middle of everyone, and everybody could hear whatever I was talking to. If I was talking to a client, to my business partner Matt, or to whoever I was talking to, I was in the middle of everyone, and it was easier before because we were not big. If they hear something that was perhaps worry for them, they could ask me, right? And I respond, and then because we were so few people, it was easy to explain, and but now that we are so many people, the message disrupts through the spread of the of the communication, right? So it is not as easy because uh, you know you say something, somebody understands in that way and they communicate that way, and then next person, and then next person, and it is complicated because now if I talk to let's say that I have an all hands meeting, not everyone will be able to attend, right? Because some will be in vacation, some will be sick, somebody had to take some personal time off or whatever, and they will not get that message from my mouth, right? They will get it from somebody else's mouth, and without bad intention, they will communicate whatever they understood from the message, and that gets changed, you know, to whatever who's the last person. And then the other thing is that uh, so we were trying to always speak in front of people to make them participate. That I think that was very important, to provide ownership to them. We never tried to control what was going on, but I will say that we were trying to make people uh, you know part of whatever the process or the decision process was. rather than making decision ourselves, um, we always try to make people to participate. I still do, right? Um, some of those things, were I think were key, and of course, because we're work better because we were a small company. And I think that that I will say those are the things that comes to my mind that were more valuable, that I felt that were very important for the culture.
Right. The transparency
The
and
transparency,
making people participate. And I think that's quite an important point because we've had several podcasts of this nature where we've talked about these very sort of open people first cultures. And often the rituals get mentioned, right? The highly participative processes and rituals that bring people in. But I think what you've just brought to light is that's in the context. It's just certainly in the case of Nearsoft of a leader who wants that to happen, right? Is desirous of getting people in the ring, getting people to participate. I think that's quite an important point in terms of leadership stance. That's what you intend to happen.
yeah, yeah. That's that's what I wanted, and still, I still want it. It makes it a little bit difficult right now because we're all spread out working from home, and it is starting to be in front of a Zoom call, every day because that's the only way to meet with people. Um, but but the intention is still the same, right? To make people to participate, to get um, expertise. I always said before, and I still do, is that business owners or co-founders or whoever is leading a company, we made a lot of mistakes, and that's why we have that experience uh, to know what to do and what not to do, especially the one not to do. Again, is more valuable, right? But if the rest of the people that is working with you doesn't have that live those experiences, it is very difficult for them to know what to do and what not to do, right? When you are not exposed to those decision making process. And again, that's my intention, still my intention, but the process is slow, especially when you're bigger, because many people will not want to do decisions, because making decisions uh it can make you a hero or it can make you a villain, right? And people that make decisions are the ones that are on the spot, because you are you are accountable for those decisions. So yeah, that's continue to be my intention, and I think that's why we have many people that there is very capable of doing things in the company right now. So basically,
yeah. And this question of transparency is an interesting one. So you make the point that when it's small, you haven't got so much risk of the Chinese whispers, right? And people are often hearing what you've said directly, and then they can come and query you based on what they've directly heard. And you've got this problem of the cascade. But I also know that there are other companies have grown to significant size, hundreds of people, maybe more, who still maintain this sort of radical transparency approach. All meeting notes are public within the company. Anybody can come to any meeting, right? They still maintain very high levels of transparency. So have you sort of moderated that a little bit and now you're less transparent in areas, or is it just that you have to manage the transparency that you do have more carefully now that there's more of you?
No, I wouldn't say we're less transparent than before. It is just that right now we need to deal with the, I will say, Chinese whispering, as you mentioned. When somebody, you know, when somebody says, "Oh, let's say that we share information, right?" And somebody thought that we didn't tell the whole story,
Right.
and then the person says, "Oh, they didn't say that whole story." Now I need to deal with, whatever my message is, and how to back up with that. That's the part that makes it difficult. Not that we are communicating. I mean, we continue communicating. We continue to communicate with people as much as we can, and but that's the thing that we need to deal with that part.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't say we are less transparent than before. Continue to be the same. But yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah. I
makes
get it.
sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You just got to deal with it as it comes, and it sounds to me like then you're making the decision because I see this in a lot of companies, right? That they're making a call to say we're going to be less transparent, and we accept that that has certain costs, right? But we'd prefer to be less transparent than potentially deal with the problems that come with being transparent, people getting upset, people getting half a story and then be getting upset by that, people seeing somebody else's salary and getting upset by that. They just don't want to deal with that upset. And it's often couched in terms of protecting the staff from uncertainty and ambiguity about, this position or that. That can be another part of it, right? That there's this sense of that this is
Yeah.
protected. And so it's interesting to me you're making a different a judgment on the pros and cons.
Exactly. And you know, I will say this kind of company requires a lot of training. With this transparency part, the and now that we are a bigger company, we need to make sure that when we communicate, people is ready to receive the message. Not everyone is ready to receive every message, and we need to train people to receive that message.
Right.
Um, Especially people that is in traditional companies, you go to work, do your work, and go home, right? Here, you go to work, you are immersed in a culture where everyone is pushing this boat to wherever we're going, and then you go home. But when you go home, you still get the entrepreneurship mindset. You're working 24/7.
Mm.
That's the mindset of an entrepreneur. And people, because they are engaged, they want to know more, right? So I will say that information is the same. We just need uh, to make sure that everyone is ready to receive the whole message at the once,
Yeah.
and that it is the right message, right? So yeah, but intention is the same. It is just that, as I said, uh, when you're dealing to so many people and growing so fast, that so many people get into this culture and they are not used to that,
Right.
and it is so distrusting at first, because that is human nature, right? Somebody wants to give you something for free. Say, wait, why are you giving me something? Nothing comes free, um, and and you distrust. Now when you see that is the a normal behavior, where people is is giving you something, in this case information. Now you say, oh, okay, so that's the way it works here. But that takes a while for somebody new to a culture to say, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
And I can tell you one story that I love to tell, because it is a reflection of what I'm saying. In 2020, March, the stay at home was declared in almost everywhere, right? Especially in this side of the world. And by April, we were getting signals that it was going to be a crisis, right? And we had to make decisions very quickly. Again, we knew from 2009 that we need to make decisions very quickly. And I proposed to the team, we don't know how deep this is going to go. We don't know how this is going to affect us. And I don't want to fire anyone, because if I fire a person when you have a crisis, you know that that person is not going to get a job and provide to their families right away, right? And they probably last 6, 8, 9 months to get a new job and be able to do that. So I propose to cut our salaries to everyone in the company. And again, remember, I will say, privileged information because of the role that I play, than people that is doing the work all day that doesn't have the focus and the time to get that information that I was privileged to have, right? So it is, when you come to that message, it is difficult to trust if you don't have a culture like what we have right now. So I proposed that, and I said, we're going to make a survey to everyone in the company, and everyone has to respond. If only 85%, or if only 85 or more percent of the company say, yeah, I agreed to cut my salary, we're going to cut salaries and not fire anyone. If not, then we will not. And then if we need to make decisions to fire a person, then we will need to fire a person, because we need to keep the company going. So we send this survey, and 96% of the people agreed to cut their salary. 96%. Wow. And everyone responded. And I love to say that story, because that is, again, it was, March 20, we sent the survey probably by April, between April 1 and 5, and we cut salaries on the 15th of April. And it was going to be, we're going to cut, 10% first. And if prices goes, we're going to cut another 10%. So it will be 20%. And we're going to go like that until, prices stop, and then we can go back to normal, right? Without knowing what was going to happen, people respond, 96% of the people respond that they want to cut salary. That's why we do things in this culture. Yeah, we make everyone participate, have a voice, respond, because the other traditional way was that I could make a decision back then on what to do, because I had that power, right? Because of the role I play. But I decided to make people participate on that, because it was going to affect everyone, not just me.
And I think that's a powerful story. in for many ways, but one of them is that the speed of change, right? Because very often the resistance to these highly participative approaches is that it slows you down, right? If you've got to include everybody's voice, then it's going to take a longer to make decisions. But look at that. You go out the survey April 5th to 6th, by the 15th, you've not just decided, you've implemented the decision, right? You've cut the salary. I mean, that's to take a whole company on such an important decision like that through that process so quickly. I mean, that's the power and the speed that you can achieve using high levels of participation. Like not always, of course, but it's a great example of how that can be true.
And the thing is that what I say is that, you know, I could make a decision different and it will be fast, right? I make a decision, cut salaries or fire people, you know, it will be done in a day or two, whatever it is. But the feeling of your team on decisions that you make without any confirmation from their side it will vary, right? Because people say, oh yeah, he had to make that decision because of the business, you know, whatever. But some people will say, oh, he's a bastard, you know, he's, you know, whatever him decision made, he never thought about anyone, you were. So whatever it was, you know, I think it is better to have people on your side and make them feel part of a decision like that because it is going to affect them.
Yeah.
It is not something that it was going to affect me only, but the rest of the company. So that actually made a very powerful decision. We never fire anyone during the pandemic crisis. We start growing again by November. And we give everything back to the people because we didn't have to use any of the money because we didn't, we didn't need it.
Right.
And that was another, point of confirmation to the team that it was a good decision, that it was trustable decision, and it just made sense.
Right.
So, yeah, I love that story. It kind of surprised me as well because it is not easy. People had to provide families. They have probably paying their house, their car, their credit card debts, whatever it was. Right? Everyone has their own battles that they need to fight economically, and still, people participated. And it makes me such proud and happy, to know that everyone thought about each other, right? Not me, but about each other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a wonderful story. Back to the it's related to the transparency point.
Yeah.
The salaries, are they still public? Does everybody get to see everybody else's salaries at the size you're at now?
Well, yeah, but it is not like many people imagine that there is a dashboard, and you can see everyone's salaries. No, it is not like that. But if somebody, anybody can go and ask, hey, what are the salaries of these other people? They provide, because anyways, people talk about that.
Yeah.
It is just, it is just naive to think that, oh, you can keep some information to yourself. That is not gonna happen. People talk about those things, and it is okay. Whatever they wanna request, they can request, but that doesn't mean that whatever they think it will be the right, and we can have those conversations without a taboo or no, we don't talk about that here, things like that. We can talk about it, and it is. I will say, we try to make a normal conversation. Always, that is, something not easy to talk to, for people. But we're open to enable those conversations.
Right. And the other thing that I know your co-founder Matt has written about is the point around hierarchy. So you're at 700. I think he was rating this about the Nearsoft company, which was obviously smaller, and talking about the lack of hierarchy, right? Very flat. He used the term co-management as opposed to a hierarchical management system. Where is Ancora at now in terms of its management structure, its hierarchy?
Let me give you an answer in two parts.
Yeah.
So Mexico continues to have this flat structure, right? Where we try to make things like that still, but there is, and Matt always tells me, you can never get the title out of your head, right? And people get when they join the company, they get, oh, this guy is a leader, not because they have a title, but because they speak up and they don't ask for permission, and they just do things. And it can be anyone, right? Oh, I need to respect that person. You come from a traditional company, and you know that those people, you need to respect them, right?
Yeah.
So they continue with that behavior within the company. So it is not, I will say, a hierarchy, and we don't have if you ask for an organigram of the company, we don't have one. But there is this imaginary hierarchy that is there because of the mental models that everyone comes into the company, right? So
right.
That's what I can tell you in that part. But I continue to be accessible for everyone, and yes. But it is just that people comes with a mindset that it is complicated to change, and it is complicated to change because we grew up with that, right? If I can tell you, and still that probably not right now, but back then I continue to thought things the traditional way, and I caught me doing it, right?
Yeah.
That was before, not right now, but it took me a while to break that that behavior. So if that happened to me, that I actually wanted to do this, imagine what's going to happen to somebody that gets to this. They never work in a company like that, and they don't know exactly if they want it or not, right? So it is difficult to make that change, to break the habit and that mindset of thinking the same way. First, you need to intentionally have it to make the break and be able to cut yourself, thinking in the traditional way of doing it, and then course correct.
Right.
And when you don't know, what do you want, or when you don't want it, it is more difficult to do it.
Right.
So that's what I will say on the hierarchy part. And
and I guess the rest of Ancora don't have that same cultural background
exactly
that Nearsoft have. So they've got more of those mental models. There's more to unwind there in terms of how they expect things to happen.
Yes.
And so you're seeing this merge.
It is not bad or wrong. It is just different.
Yeah.
And it is complicated to make that, change of mindset. That's
right. Yeah. No, I can understand that. And it seems to me like looking at the Ancora website, you've still got some level of defined structure in terms of like the senior team.
Yeah.
But then are you saying after that it's less formalized?
No. What I will say is that in the group that I lead, it is less formalized. But
Okay.
the rest of the company,
Yeah.
it is formalized. We have a structure, uh, and it works. We grow year over year, and it is paying off.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And where do you think it will go? Do you expect that over time there will be more of a sense of moving towards what you've got at Nearsoft, or is it sort of an unknown as to exactly how the cards
No,
will fall?
well, the thing is that um, every lead has their own way of working, and I think it will continue to work that way. Um, Everyone is free to make decisions on whatever they want to do. So I will continue to my decisions, and the rest of the leaders will continue to do their decisions.
Right.
Yeah. So I you know I cannot give you a straight answer on what they are planning to do or not, because I don't know, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. No. But that
I
also,
can just speak more for myself.
but that also makes sense from just the broad point of having autonomy. I guess one could say, well, that means if
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
running an office or a unit, then whatever
Mhm.
the structure is that you want to lead from is going to be what happens
Yeah.
in that area. Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Good. I know we've run over a little over here, but this has been a
Oh, okay.
fantastic, conversation. I've really enjoyed the stories. Is there anything else you'd like to share that we've not touched on?
Well, yeah, we can speak here for hours, and I will never stop. Yeah, there are many things that uh, we didn't talk, that I will be happy to talk in a future
Yeah.
conversation. Um, I will say that having this type of culture and organization is not. I wouldn't say that it is the best way to do it, or it will depend on your purpose. But I continue to having fun. I continue to uh, you know to think that this helps a lot with people development and maturity. I continue to say that it is a great way to not only accomplish goals, but to um, to make people proud of uh, whatever they are building.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the reason, especially that last point. If your intention is to bring everybody in to participate, to have a stake in all of the decisions, it would be natural then that they feel a much greater sense of pride in the
Yeah,
outcomes. Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your candor
Thank you, Richard.
and sharing the story. I hope it can inspire people. To do this themselves. And I think even this dynamic of what you're doing for the Mexico office within the broader group, there may be leaders who consider that for themselves, right? To the extent that they've got autonomy for their business unit or geographic unit, whatever it might be, try some of this stuff, right?
Yeah, well, we don't push anyone to do this. Everyone is free to do whatever they think is right. But if somebody wants us to ask, why do you do it this way or that way, we are open to anyone anywhere to get access to us and do it.
Brilliant.
So
Well, there's an offer for anybody listening. and is inspired by this high participation, high transparency, high trust culture. Yeah, reach out. Awesome. Well, thank you once again. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
The rest of your day. It's getting to the close of our day here, but you've got the day ahead of you. Yeah, I've really appreciated your time. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you, Richard, and you have a great night.